One, two, three, four.
All right, testing, and we are live. Okay, thanks for joining us here at the Mark and Jeanette Show. We've been doing this now for solid, going on about a year now, but this project is probably about 3 years in the making. So if you've stayed with us this long and you've hung through our shenanigans through our inception, I thank you for joining us. That's very awesome of you. And today's going to be just a real short show. But thanks for taking the time to hang out with us. You know, when we get together, we always get together like friends do. We always say we get together like friends and have a drink. And if you've been on this long enough, you know I always have a bang. But these things are really good. I don't know. I've I often question how healthy they are, but this blue ras bang has just been my favorite. It's been my drug of choice, so to speak. And I don't know what to say. If you're like me and you drink coffee and chew nicotine gum and have energy drinks to get you through the day, then you know where I'm coming from, right? But but anyway, yeah. Thanks for joining us. I hope you have something to drink, or you're at work, or you're on the drive and you're just kind of flipping through the stations and trying to find something good to listen to. Thanks for taking the time. We try to make this fun content, kind of light. We touch bases on news items, things that pop up, whether it's U.S. politics, whether it's national news. We tend to get bingy and go down the rabbit hole with all sorts of topics related to UFOs and ghosts and craziness going on in the world. And sometimes we just talk crazy shenanigans and have a good laugh. And you know, I kind of like where we go with that. It's been really nice, and it's been very cool. We've had some cool people on here. Our usual guests, Artie. I don't know if I guess I shouldn't say guests. Our usual co-hosts, Jeanette and Artie. They're a staple of the show, and they're very busy with their lives, and sometimes it's hard to get one or the other on, and or even myself. And I think this today's show is for those of you that are, kind of looking like to start your own podcast, or you're questioning yourself like, good Lord, I don't get a lot of viewers, or man, this is just a lot to put together, or what do I use? And I know it gets hard, like it's it gets kind of crazy difficult at times, and I don't know, where to tell you to start or what it takes, and I don't know, like, or maybe I shouldn't say I don't have the best advice for people other than just do it. If this is something you want to do, and you're kind of want to dip your toes in the water, so to speak. I mean, that's where I came from. I wanted to dip my toes in the water and just kind of see what happened, where this went to, and then why not go for it? I think it's easy to drop cash, drop tons of cash, and I know a lot of us are working a job or two jobs or three jobs, side hustles, all sorts of stuff going on. If you probably do like DoorDash or Sparks Delivery or Uber. I mean, I know I do, and that's on top of having a full time job and family life and gym and friends and all that. But if this is something you want to do, then I would say don't hesitate to pull the trigger. Make it happen. Go for it. You're you're not letting anybody down by not doing it, but I think you get a nagging feeling in the back of your head, like, what if? And I think it's the what ifs that really kind of kill us in our life, in our day to day, right? What if I did that? What if? And some people, some people legitimately they don't do things because, what if they fail? Then they have nothing to show for. And me myself personally, I'm not from that camp. If it doesn't work out, well, there's a lesson learned. There's experience gained. You try once, you don't succeed, Yeah, it's kind of corny to say, but I am of that school where it's like, yeah, you get back up and you try again. I started this with a very old, very cheap laptop that I had for years. One of the kind of laptops back in the day where you had to leave it plugged in because the battery was dead. You couldn't find batteries for it. That was my first laptop. And my first microphone, this is it right here actually. It looks really cool. I bought it either on Amazon or eBay. It came in really nice packaging, and I guess it worked good for what it was, but it was like 10 or 20 bucks. I was so excited. I didn't know the cable types. I didn't know how to get these cables to plug into the computer. How to make that work, and that's kind of a cool experience to have, though, right? Like you go through it and you just kind of figure it out. My little microphone. I got my little microphone stand that I clipped to my desk, and I did a couple of short recordings with this sitting at my desk, and with really nothing just to say. I think my first 20 videos were just like test, 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 1, 2, 3, and I'm glad that I got past that. So this is what I started with, and I think when you're dipping your toes in the water, it's okay to try something like this. Why not, right? Because you know you have to start somewhere. These Audio Technicas. This was like my first attempt at getting a better high quality mic. It was recommended off of a podcast program I use, and this was kind of a cool mic. I definitely could tell the difference in the quality of the volume with this versus those Chinese made ones, which I don't know. These might be Chinese made too, but they're just higher quality. And I still have one there on the table there, but my I don't know how to say it. My the Triumph that I got were these Shure mics. I think I've seen them on every professional podcasting forum, from Joe Rogan to, gosh, I don't know. Everybody I've seen doing a podcast, video podcasting, has these mics, and they're amazing. They just sound good, and this, I feel like that was the first step up in my game. Like I was doing something right. Probably the next best thing I did. Well, there was a couple things I did. I had an iPad, and I just gave it away, and it was an iPad Pro. Again, same thing. Battery was kind of half dead on it, so you had to keep it plugged in here, and have to get everything to plug into my iPad. And that was a big evolution too, because Apple really let me do a lot of cool stuff like that in terms of editing and putting having a good camera. I had a camera stand where everything plugged into, and I would record off my iPad. And so that was kind of cool. And I would edit on my iPad because there's all sorts of really cool apps you could download as well. I think the probably the next best thing I got after that was these Mevo Logitech multicams. I got about a box of 3 of these. They're wireless. They connect wirelessly. They work great with my iPad Pro. I really like these, and they're very mobile. I don't have really like a desktop or tabletop stand. I have tripods everywhere that I use for these, and these were really cool. And I think if you're a podcaster, whether you're goofing around or you're trying to do something a little bit more serious, that's kind of a cool way to go too. But I've made these little leaps and bounds where I could, because first, everything costs money. Let's be honest. It takes money to buy this stuff, and I got these used $600. These were about $100 something. My cheap mic was like $20. These ones were a lot more, obviously. And my newest edition, and I'm excited about it, but man, it's been frustrating, but it's been kind of cool, I guess. Is I just got the Mac Mini with the M4 chip in it, and I just got the Apple editing software, and I'm trying to get like a nice little setup here. I have kind of everything just set up here, just so I could make it all work. And I'm excited. I'm trying to use it. I've had some glitches with the cameras, getting the cameras to work. There's no new apps or whatever, but that kind of comes with it, right? You kind of figure out how you have to step up your game. Like when I first started going multi mics, trying to get that to work, I had to buy a little Chinese soundboard. Cheap, but it has like all the different plugins for your mics, and that, trying to figure out how to get that into the computer. And then probably like another big step for me were these Audio Technica headsets. Getting these rolling and trying to figure out how to listen to yourself. And you wouldn't think that's a big deal because you're talking, right? But it's kind of interesting, like when you're talking, how when you get really close to the mic, it just sounds so much differently. Like I'm all the way up to the mic here, but if I go further away here, you don't get a sense of it until you have headphones on. So that's been a really cool experience to have as well. So I probably the other thing I did, you can't see this here, but off camera I have a mounted 26-inch monitor on the wall, which I probably could upgrade that as well, and I probably will at some point. But and see, I just had a glitch right now. I don't know if something fell asleep. Oh, I'm still recording. Oh, my. So this is. I just got this Mac Mini. I'm just setting it up, but the screen just fell asleep for a second, and I had that happen once when I was doing a long version podcast where we had three. We were like 2.5 hours in, and the display went to sleep, and everything shut down. And I don't know how much video I lost. It must have been like 45 minutes, half an hour. But these are all things that happen to you when you're doing this podcasting, And there's I guess there's no better experience than or learn tool to learn from than experience. I watch a lot of videos, and some people have some really cool setups. Good Lord. I mean, it's beautiful. I don't know if they have the disposable income to throw at it. Maybe they have sponsors that pay for it. I don't know. I don't know how they do it, but it's really cool to see what people do and then trying to figure out what works for us here. Um, you look around me, you say like, God, my background's all black, and you have a couple things up. I bought these shelves off Wayfair, and I started decorating with cool stuff. I got some cool, World War One helmet. This is a Vietnam Marine helmet from the Vietnam War era. I've got this German pickle hom here, and just slowly I've started putting stuff on my shelves, and slowly I'm trying to think what I'm going to add onto the wall because I put all this soundproofing on, and it really, it really helps with the echo. If you've never done podcasting and you just kind of you kind of just set chairs up somewhere, you make it work, and you're like, all right, that's cool. Then you realize, like in my case, I realized our first couple of episodes were just sitting in front of a closet walls, doors. There's a white wall, closet doors. I'm like, okay, how can I improve on that? And so then, as all this soundproofing went up, it's all black. Then the next question is, okay, what do I do about lighting? So I've got some lighting in here, but now it gets hot in here, and it's just it's not unbearably hot, but it's summertime right now outside. It's like 9 o'clock right now, and it's probably at least 80 degrees outside. So it's really warm in here. This is like the sun hits the room, most of the day, so it gets really warm. But it's been a cool experience, and it's been exciting. And I think you know people, if you want to do this, you should give it a try. You don't have to buy the crazy expensive stuff. You can do things on your iPhone. You don't have to buy the crazy expensive mics. You don't have to buy the expensive cameras. I know people that use those Sony mirrorless cameras. They hook those up, and those are phenomenal. And that's, I'm paying $600 for these three little cameras here, and those are like over $1,000 a piece, brand new. You know what I mean? So you've got to find what works for you and kind of figure out what approach you're going to take to make this work. Like I say, I was fortunate to have my iPad Pro, which is kind of why I got it. But even that, at some point when I was editing, it's like, oh man, it's easier, but it's not as easy as I'd like it to be. So that's why I upgraded to my Mac Mini. I've got my box here. I was totally excited about this. I got this from Best Buy, and yeah, we'll see how this works. It's supposed to be super, super good. And the Apple the video editing software I just subscribe to, it just seems pretty legit. I got Final Cut Pro, so that's gonna be a new thing to learn. I used to use CapCut, which was, I think it was made more for like TikTok and stuff like that, but or Instagram. But I'm trying to take the next step, I guess you can say. So we'll see how that goes. There's a number of people I watch online. Obviously I think everybody watches Joe Rogan. He was like the leader of this all, right? When he started podcasting long format and just really good content, really interesting topics. And then I started watching I think it was called the Incredible Channel, the Impossible Channel. It's this guy on YouTube. And his stuff is just great too. I really like how he edits. And let me see if I have that. if I have that here. Yeah, it's called That Is Impossible, and he has a second channel called the James channel. I think that's called or the James Show, and it's spelled James Jaymez, and he has really good content too, and he does really good editing, and I can see him starting off this way a long time ago too, right? Like just trying to figure it out as he goes along. But his content's really good, and the Y files. I know that's been getting bigger, and he has really good topics as well. So I've been watching them and see what they do, and you want to pick something that's interesting to you, and you don't want to pigeonhole yourself into one topic or another. So I think we all try to figure out what works for us, and then present in a way that's interesting to you, in the hopes that there's probably some other people out there that find it interesting too. I know myself, I always think, like, gosh, if I find this topic interesting and we can talk about it, there might be some other guys like us that would too. And so that's always been our approach. If we find it interesting and we can have a talk or laugh about it or find it interesting, we present it that way, and we try to, uh, you know, hopefully make a connection with the people that'll watch us. So, and if that's you, hey, we appreciate it. Thank you. And I say we, but it's really like a small group. There's like two, three of us, and but it's fun, and it's exciting, and for those of you that are thinking like, gosh, I can do this, yeah, I would say, give it a try, and be appropriate and pick things that you think are going to be legitimate for you. I think, we wing it. We don't have like a lot of script writing. We I've really just have started getting into like AI. I use Grok a lot, sometimes ChatGPT, but I've been more into Grok, and I've been using Grok as giving me more of a layout of what to follow on certain topics. Uh, and that's been working for the time being, so I've been pretty excited about that. That's been working well too, but it's just been a whole project. It's what turns out to be like something we're going to do real quick for an hour turns out 3.5 hours. Technical difficulties, breaks. We always have all sorts of drinks up here because, again, our theme was just always kind of just a couple of friends hanging out talking about current events. So yeah, so I guess the point of that is like, yeah, do what feels good. Try to if you're trying to get your toes wet with this, don't be afraid to do it. Don't worry about not having high end equipment. Don't worry about, if you don't have an Apple, if you have a PC, it works. Go for it. Just do it. You know, our biggest enemies is ourself, right? I think, you know, whenever growing up, all the times you want to do something, you're always your biggest stumbling block. When I always tell people when I was younger, I shouldn't say when I was little, but when I was younger, I was this short, fat, shy guy that mumbled too much and couldn't get two words out right. And God, here I was wanting to go to the gym, but I was too afraid of how I would look at the gym, and wasn't really very physically active. And I don't know when I started just diving in, just going at it. But you come to a point where you just have to get past these things, and I think that's a very legitimate stumbling block that we face in our lives. We are our biggest enemies, and it doesn't have to mean on social media. It doesn't have to be in the gym or dating, meeting girls, guys, or and it could be your work life. It could be anything, right? We always just kind of get in our own way. So you know, take a chance. If this is something you want to do, just do it. And I've I've really enjoyed this, and I'm going to try to continue to do this. And I think my goal is to really, try to step up the content for the people that do like the way we present it. They do kind of like or my little studio here I've put together, and they kind of find it interesting. Then I want to continue to provide you guys with something interesting. Hopefully, I can provide more diverse topics. I was following the Russia Ukraine thing pretty hard, and I still do. And although we don't talk about it as much, and we talk about a lot of history stuff, a lot of events, we like I say, we go down the binge or the fringy rabbit hole pretty often too, and talk about our experiences. I don't know if anybody knows this, but we're here in New Mexico, and in southern New Mexico, man, that's like fringy topics is top of the list here in New Mexico. It's called the land of enchantment, and we call it like it's like a old country, right? There's been inhabitants here for thousands of years, and you've had Indians, Europeans, Spaniards, and you've had all sorts of people come through here, gunslingers. There's legends, Spanish Trail, and people have lived and people have died here, and they've had celebrations and what have you. And so there's a lot of stories, there's a lot of memories, there's a lot of things here. Billy the Kid, right? Um, and along with that old history, you hear stories of ghosts and La Llorona and all this stuff that's just really attached to the land here in New Mexico. That's really interesting. And then you get into the modern era where you're talking about World War II, and you're talking about Roswell, and then you start talking about UFOs, and there's stories here about Bigfoot and abductions, and on the where we're at, we're not far from the border, so there's cartels, and there's drugs, and there's immigrations and politics, and there's just such a diverse amount of topics here that we dabble with that I don't think we can adequately cover in one show in 1 week or 1 month, or whether it's long format or short. But it's still, though, it's cool to talk about it all. And once we start talking about all that stuff, we're Texas is right here, so we get stories from Texas, and we start talking about Arizona. Before you know, we're talking about the whole Southwest and this side of the United States, and just the stories go in so many directions, and that's what's really cool about this, especially when you have people on here that you really like. It's you just don't know where the topics are going to go, and it's just so exciting. And if that's for you, you should give it a try. We did, and we're really enjoying it. My co-host Jeanette, she's super intelligent, and she's a hardworking professional, and I've learned a lot from her, and she's learned a lot from, I hope, from me. She's, well, maybe one or two things from me. Let's be honest. Artie is this really dynamic guy, and he's just such a go-getter. He people like him. He's very just outgoing, and he's very pleasant to have around. And he's just going after it. He's been doing like a lot of acting gigs and what have you. And it's guys like Artie you've got to tip your hat to, because it's definitely like a reflect. You can look at him and it's a reflection of yourself. Like when you see a guy going at it hard like he does, you hope that you have that drive to be just as successful, because he's gonna be great. He's gonna really do stuff in this world. Probably our off-camera person that we've had from time to time is our good friend. We call him Fabio Fabuloso Dario, and again, just another piece of the puzzle that we bring in. Super intelligent. He's yeah. I always tell people he's the most intelligent person I know, and I think all of us here, we just learned so much from him, and his approach to life and family and work, and he's the kind of guy that you wish you would be, in the sense that he throws himself into things, and when he wants to learn something, he really throws himself at it until he fully understands it, and it's just so admirable. So I know another person we've had on here often is Mark Monger, and he's just retired, and I've we were both named Mark, and I always say he's my better half, or he's the better Mark. And again, very insightful man. He's traveled, he's worked hard, he's been successful, and uh, um, and he's different than, say, Dario, than Artie. And for me, when I hear him, he really gets to like whoops, I gotta watch the video here, but he really hits a part of me that I get, and I really love his humor, because it's from my generation. If I talk about like the 80s, I grew up in the 80s. I was a kid in the 80s, but and Mark's a little older than me, but man, the things he says just reminds me of people in my life that've been on my journey. and I get it and I click with it. And we had one episode in here that was like 4 hours long, and we were just sharing all sorts of stuff. And man, it was good. I really liked it, and I never aired it because we talked about a lot of personal stuff, and we talked about our friend and shared a lot of things, and we just decided it would be best to save that video for us, and which I did. So, but yeah, so that was just really good stuff, and it's the kind of things, the kind of opportunities you wouldn't have if you didn't do this. Now, for me, moving forward, I'm not a perfectionist. I I would say I'm the kind of guy that I'll work hard at something and I try to improve and I try to learn from my mistakes and I'll keep going at it and keep going at it until I get what I want and the quality of what I'm doing in here, yeah, the format, it's almost where I want it to be just to be at this level. It's not a professional studio, it's not a warehouse, it's just a simple room that we're doing the best what we have with and try to throw some cool stuff up. And but but as we move forward with this, yeah, we do have plans of what we would like to do and be able to present better content and learn how to edit. I think there's programs where they have people that are paid for editing and video overlays, photo overlays, and they just look so solid. But I'm pretty sure those programs when they first started, they kind of started like me. I like to think that a lot of these people that are getting good at what they do, they're just kind of like the guys that were in the garage just tinkering away and inventing stuff. Well, here we are tinkering away on this on YouTube, and if you watch me on YouTube or Rumble, or if you listen to me on one of the podcasting platforms, you're just we're just one of those guys that are just chipping away at it. Uh, um, but it's cool and it's exciting and again I can't stress this enough. If you're an older guy like me, I'm not gonna say I'm older. I'm not gonna say I'm younger. I'm just kind of there. But if you're one of these guys that you're like, you feel like you have a pretty good message and it's worth being said and worth being, listened to, and that you might have people that might find you interesting, do it. There's no time like the present, and yeah, I just think you should just give it your best shot and go at it. And as time goes on, you start to figure out maybe you need this, maybe you need that, and that's just how this goes. That's just the name of the game. So anyhow, I just wanted to make a short video, make some content. I'm gonna try to do a better job of making content, and yeah, and I would definitely, if if you like what we're doing, give us a like, give us a subscribe. That always helps out. And if you stumble across our podcast and you want to pour yourself a drink or have an energy drink like I am, or you're just trying to pass some time and you're listening to us, we appreciate that too. Thank you. I was looking up a quote, and I just can't think of the name of the quote right now. But let me look it up real fast. It's a quote I often say on here a lot, and it's just a really good quote. Oh, okay, here it is. It's by Henry David Thoreau, and I think about this quote a lot. It's one that speaks to me, and I hope it speaks to everybody, or I hope it hits you guys the same way it hits me. But this one really hits me pretty good, and I reflect on this one a lot. But basically, the quote says, the correct quote attributed to David Henry Thoreau is, "The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation." And I say this to a lot of people, but don't live a life of quiet desperation. Go after your dreams. Do what you want to do. I'm not telling you to go hurt anybody, go rob a bank, go assault somebody on the street. If that's and that's your issue, I'm not talking to you. But if you're a man, you're trying to, or a woman, I'm sorry, man or a woman, young or old, if you're trying to make your way through this world and trying to find your place and make your mark and figure it out, don't live a life of quiet desperation. If you want to clock out of work and you have a day off and you want to take a quick road trip somewhere and you can get there, be back in time for work and slum it out, living out of your vehicle, go surfing somewhere, go have some tacos somewhere. I mean, we're just blessed in the United States. You can get in your vehicle and you can drive anywhere you want to and be anywhere in a reasonable amount of time and meet new people and do cool stuff. And if you want to do that, do that. Like I say, don't live that life of quiet desperation. And if you want to do this, then get a simple setup. Just do it, and I hope you have a very successful journey doing this, and that whatever it is that you do choose to do, that it is successful and that it bears you much fruit, and and if it doesn't work out, that's okay too. You learn from it. You've got great memories. You meet good people along the way. So even when it doesn't work out, it kind of still does work out. And I always tell people this. I always say that life has a way of working out. And just because something doesn't work out right now or doesn't work out the way you want it to, it just has a funny way of working out in the end. You just have to be patient enough to get there and see what happens, see what comes of it. So, anyways, thank you. You have a good night. And like I say, this is my very first podcast using my new Mac Mini, so I was excited to give it a go because I want to figure it out before before I bring somebody back on and have it crash on me. But it looks like we've made it, and it's kind of holding up, and yeah, we'll continue with this. So thanks for being on this journey with me. Thanks for putting up with our silly shenanigans. I hope to be making better content, better editing, and just better things across the board. So be patient with us, and as we get better at this. And thanks for your time. And when we come back up again, get comfortable or do what you're gonna do. And if you want to have a drink and chat with us, cool, and drop us a comment, give us a like, give us a subscribe. We really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you. Have a good night. Bye.